Unfortunately, we didn't get to hear too much from Thomas Randall on the front row pole sitter for the first time in his young career with this bracket, at least. We've seen him towards the front in Formula Ford and also in sports sedans. But let's talk about what lies ahead here, Cameron. 12 laps. We saw particularly Tom Randall and Jordan Lloyd all over each other in that qualifying session. Do you think that they're going to be able to break the field here?
Look, it's going to be tough, Chad, because the times were so close. We had the first 10 cars by just over a second. Look, I think they are just that couple of tenths per lap ahead of the rest. But I think 3rd to 9th is going to be an absolute cracking battle. And one thing also will be interesting for me is that we haven't run this Hankook tyre in this sort of temperature as yet. All the pre-season testing was done in Victoria or Sydney under cool conditions. Townsville was reasonably warm, but a lot more corner loadings here, particularly through turns 1 and turns 2.
This, Cameron, is how they'll line up. It's Randall on pole, Jordan Lloyd, a man who pushed him all the way and took that first round win alongside him. Hayek and Brown off row 2. Leads and Jimmy Vernon, the first of the AGI cars. Actually, apologies, second of the AGI cars after Will Brown in there as well. Looking forward to seeing what Nick Rowe and Jordan Love, a pair of West Aussies, can do out of row 4.
Row 5, Tom Gretsch, not where he'd like to be. Drew Ridge carrying one of our onboard cameras. Young Zane Goddard, just 15 years of age. Frankie Maiolo, Supercarter, Jack Sipp. Unfortunately missed one practice session, so he will make up the rear in the Jayco car, which you have actually competed some laps in. It's had some high calibre of driver in that car.
I definitely ruined that.
Jack adds another layer to that this weekend.
He was much more comfortable in that car than I was that day. We both drove that car at the same day at Phillip Island. Russell Ingles had a pedal of that car. Greg Rust has had a drive of that car. And now Jack Sipp competing in it. He'll start out of lucky 13th. 2 on boards, one including this guy, Drew Ridge, the other one Lewis Leeds, who we were on board with a second ago, helping us to get down there on the racetrack and cover the action. I've got a little feeling this might end up being a bit of a Moto 3 race where they're all on top of each other, slipstreaming each other, or alternatively the front 2 guys will be too quick and they might get away.
Now you notice a lot of front tyre temperature there. You don't want to overheat the rears because not a lot of power, 160 horsepower. They're such a sticky, soft compound. Too many practice starts and you'll probably find the car will grip up off the start and bog down. Very, very easy to stall with the amount of rear grip in these cars. So trying to keep the rear tyre temp down a little bit for the start to get some wheel slip and just generate as much front tyre temp as you can for those first few corners. There
is your pole sitter, Dream Motorsport, number 49. Kerrick on the side, Jayco as well, the series sponsor. And they will line up alongside each other on the front. Sequential gearboxes using paddles to shift. 160 horsepower, 13 cars on the grid. And have a look at the angle that Randall's going for. Very aggressive. He wants to swing out and try and cut in front of Jordan Lloyd. Green flag at the back. Second round for Cam's Jayco Formula 4. Randall to the left, Lloyd to the right. Wait for the red light to come on. Here we go. Bring the revs up. Away. Lead slow off the third row, might get jumped by Nick Rowe. Those guys might be 4 wide by the time they get down to turn 1. Great start though for the championship leader. He'll swing around and take the lead ahead of Tom Randall, who didn't get the best of starts at all. Will Brown nearly took second away from him. This will be brave from Drew Ridge. He wants to look up the inside at turn 2. Using his mirrors was Gretsch. He gave him room. But in the end, Drew Ridge thought better of it. And Sips jumped Maiolo at the start as well, but that was not what Randall wanted. He's given away the start. On board with Lewis Leeds. Oh, feathering. He's a bit unsure about where to jump on the brakes down there at turn 3, being very cautious.
Safe option was good. He just thought, no, I'm not going to go in too deep here and get a nose-to-tail situation. It always bottlenecks at turn 3. I just wonder, Chad, whether Thomas Randall being on such an angle was a detriment, because he nearly had to turn when he let the clutch out. He was still in the grid box, so it's still legal. He's still within. Oh, Jordan Lloyd. Love, sorry, you're right, car 79. Maybe taking evasive action under brakes. We've seen him have a couple of moments there in practice. I just wonder whether he got caught out under braking and had to go down the outside.
He unfortunately went off in the first lap of the first race in Townsville. The good part about going off at Ipswich, less concrete, and he manages to join onto the back of the queue. Lives to fight another day. He's just coming out of the last corner right now. There he is. And Will Brown, the Cars Galore 99, he's got a tear-off hanging off the right-hand side of his helmet. Something you won't have to worry about when you move into a tin-top career, but definitely in open wheelers, it's something you have to think about. Oh, Gretsch is on the dirty stuff, and that was close.
Yeah, just went in a little bit too deep. I think it might have been racing or aware of Tom Gretsch, and then just outbraked himself there perhaps a little bit. And, well, wasn't a big one, but when you get out on those marbles, there's just absolutely no grip. So, unfortunately, for young Jordan Love, who's only having probably his third open wheeler race, so out of karting, and a young WA driver, I'm sure he'll learn from that and bounce back tomorrow.
So these two are starting to move away a little bit. They've got a 1.5 second lead over Will Brown. And Lloyd and Randall will be two names that you hear a lot of this year in Formula 4. They put on a great show for us in qualifying. Go back to find Randall's teammate Leeds. He's tucked in behind Jimmy Vernon. This young driver, just 15 years of age. He brings it back onto the front straight. Shifting gears with the right hand.
Nearly into the limiter then, so you see the red lights were on. That whistling is the turbo, so as they lift off, you hear the whistle from the turbo, back on the throttle, just a slight lift there. Oh, bit of a moment on the exit. So the cars, even though they have downforce with the full under tray, the wings, still move around a fair bit.
He's going defensive. He realised what was coming. And around the outside goes Nick Rowe. Actually, yeah, he's done a pretty good job after running a little bit wide himself earlier. So Rowe now on a charge, trying to pick up one or two more spots.
There won't be a lot of grip on the inside if Rowe's trying to move down there. He goes back to the outside, slow in under brakes, try and get the drive off the corner. Another passing opportunity down here into turn 6. So if he can get a good run out of 5, a little bit too far back, but this is where it can be done down here under brakes.
These two aren't letting each other get away just yet. 94 and 49, and that's Lloyd now leading from Tom Randall. Made that mistake in the first race, running wide at Townsville, and then picked up the next two. For Randall, he got pinged for an infringement, I guess you could call it, in qualifying, and had to fight his way back throughout the rest of the weekend. Reverse top 6 this week?
Yeah, reverse top 6. So tomorrow, 2 races on Sunday. First one will be reverse top 6. The second and final race, or third race of the weekend after the main V8 Supercar event tomorrow, is their second fastest times from qualifying determine the grid. So that's consistent with FIA Formula 4 globally, so part of the FIA regulations. And Tom Randall will start pole for that one as well. So he had the fastest and second fastest times from this morning's qualifying.
Well, it was exciting qualifying, that one. And it's worth mentioning that battle that we're watching between Lewis Leeds and Rowe was actually for pole position in tomorrow's race. They're fighting over 6th and 7th. Further back, this is the battle between 12th and 13th. As Sip gets put back behind Love. Two sons of privateer touring car racers that used to race back in the late 90s and turn of the millennium. Back when we used to have events like the Queensland 500.
Well, it's an expensive weekend for Jordan's father, Ian Love, because he's at Eastern Creek with his other sons go-karting, while his eldest son is racing Formula 4. So the family's right into it. So Mum Nikki is here supporting Jordan, and Dad's on go-kart duties this weekend.
Through turn 2 we go. Talking to Thomas before this race, he was worried about a bit of aero wash in that part of the corner, particularly if you get close to the guy in front of you. And it's probably what's been happening to this guy, getting close to Jimmy Vernon. Sometimes you just lose the air on the front wing, and you get a lot of mid-corner understeer.
Lewis is closing a little bit down the back straight, so getting a very small advantage of that hole in the air from the Vernon, the Tool Force green car in front. So he closed a little bit down the back straight and also a little under braking. He'll go all the way up to the link road on the right here before he hits the brake pedal. Back 2 gears.
Or Vernon with a little bit of exit oversteer through 4. He'll hold it through turn 5 and get the gears pumping again.
See what he can do down here into turn 6. Another spot where they brake well past the 100-metre mark at about the 60 to 70-metre mark before the corner. And he's making up ground, so managing his tyre pressures quite nicely in that the tyre wear. He's a little bit quicker than Vernon last time around. So 3/10 quicker.
Oh, and meanwhile, there's a couple more battles to watch out for here. You've got Maiolo and Rich. Actually, it's Rich and Goddard, and it looked like Rich ran a little bit wide in the mid part of that corner there, but I don't think he ran off wide enough to flick up the dust. But look how much of that gap opened up. That's the aero wash we're talking about. And then this man who's on a charge Christchurch grammar student trying to make up for that first lap mistake. And then the leaders also having a battle. So we've got pairs finding each other on the racetrack, and good battle starting to form all over.